you. For Dr. Carelli, I noticed that there weren't any pre or post measures and videos of your participants. And I was wondering how you are measuring the efficacy of your intervention.
Yeah, it's true. You catch the point. I wanted just to use some evidences because we define these evidences. We are now collecting all of the data, all of the measures that have been done by using internationally as approved scales by the group of Chinese neurosurgeons, and they did all of the evaluation. We have done all of the MRI before and after adequate periods, 2 months, 6 months, and after, obviously, at the end of the study. And we will, we are now collecting and evaluating all of the measurements to prepare a publication. That's why I didn't put that in any measurements in my video, because I wanted only to show that the approach is feasible, such as we have done the study. This was a phase 1. Then we got such as shocking results. It's up to us and up to surgeon that I prefer to insert something to show you, but I didn't want to show efficacy because I know very well that we have to do measurements, and we are doing now that.
Okay, you had touched on some of the surprising outcomes. Can you touch on a few of those?
Yeah, because patients have motor improvement, sensory improvement, control of improvement in bladder, in some improvement also in evacuation. So we are really, we are doing evaluations. I prefer to do not speak about it because also because of the respect of which are the procedure of science. So we need to control, we need to check, we need to very well evaluate, but really, we are really shocked by the evidences. That's why I wanted to present something.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Biden, I don't know if you're available for this next question. If not, Dr. Carelli, we'll continue on with you. So based on your findings, Dr. Carelli, are you able to determine at this point who would be a responder and who would not?
No, really no, because I have to be honest with you. We have enrolled, I show you the video about for patients that, but we have videos about also other patients. Two of them were tetraplegic, and also they have some improvements. So really, and all of them were chronic. I don't know if you have catch the point, but one of these patients were lesion in 2010, meaning 10 years of damage, then 10 years from the injury, and also 10 years as my colleagues. She presented a beautiful presentation without a real exercise on the legs, on the bone, on the muscles. So it's really, I learned a lot today because this point that you showed me, we must control, we must check also in our patients. But you know, some of them, one of them, as I told you, was lesion in 2010. The others, 3 of them were lesioned in 2015. So meaning 5 years from the contusion. It's a lot of time. So at this moment, we cannot say who will be responder and who not, but we are in fact planning some new studies, more controlled with such as a more defined patient population, just to also to respond to this question, who will be responders. And also maybe it will be also, in my opinion, it would be also nice to see if it is possible to start with this approach also in acute stage. Because if it is true, as my colleague, Dr. Biden showed, this is what we think is that the major mechanism of this approach is to exert a protection of the damaged tissue by an anti-inflammatory and anti-immunosuppressive action, so counteracting the second neurodegeneration, the second phase. And maybe in the acute phase, this will be an effect that could be more appreciated. This is my opinion. And in fact, in Europe, we are trying to organize some acute studies to see which is the real response of the patients, also in acute stage.
Dr. Carelli, this is Matthew with a number of questions from our attendees. And I'll try to just sort of consolidate some of them. Some of them you've already addressed. But as to the first of your comments, when do you expect a publication to be shared regarding the data you've collected in terms of pre-intervention evaluation and post-intervention evaluation? That's one question. The second one is if you could comment on the 4 dropouts from the cohort. Why did they drop out? Was it for safety reasons? Maybe you could just comment on that bit, and then I'll let you go ahead and answer.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew, for the question, and thank you also for the audience for this question. I start from the last point about the 4 dropout. They drop out not because of the study, but for personal reasons. All of them were Chinese patients, and they needed to go back to their home. But I have to be honest, they continue to do some rehabilitation exercise that they learn at the center in the Kunming hospital, and they continue to improve. So obviously they drop out and they did not continue the study for the complete period. So we must eliminate these evidences. But I have to tell you that they continue to improve. They were young, they were 20, 21 years old patients, and they needed to go back to their home for helping their family. That's why they dropped out, not because of reason of the study. And about the first question, I do not remember anymore. Please, Matthew, can you?
When can we expect to see the data that you have been collecting, that the neurosurgeons have been collecting?
We hope in the next year, but you know, Matthew, there is a very, very serious problem to publish, to be accepted by the international community. So we are trying to write a paper to complete the collection of the data and write a paper between me and the other Italian scientists that participated to the study and Chinese colleagues. It's not very easy because we need a translation. We need to understand very well what you want to say. I do not a word of Chinese, so we need to discuss a lot in English, which is not very easy, but you know, we are doing our best. And we hope to start to submit the paper in 6-10 months. I think 6 months, maybe. And then it depends from the acceptance by the journals, but we will try to do and to collect also the suggestion by the reviewers to complete all of the collection of the data.
Dr. Biden, thank you for.
Dr. Carelli, there's still a bunch of questions from the audience. One of them is regarding the surgical removal of the gliotic scar. Lots of folks are curious about that. How can you comment? How is that done? That's
Yeah, I can only comment. I cannot describe the surgery because, you know, I am a preclinical scientist, and I was there during the surgery for the preparation of the adipose tissue. But so I saw the surgery, but this was done by Dr. Liu. And there are a lot of video who show his ability for the operation, and they did, I mean, not only by him, it was a team of 4 or 5 neurosurgeons present during the surgery, and because they were all of them were involved in the removal of the scar. In fact, what I was interested in, I do not want to catch out the point, but I only want to say that it's better that I do not describe. This will be very well described in paper because it's not my job, you know. But what I would like to say that we try to collect the scar for the different patients because we wanted to study it, just to see what there is inside, which type of tissue, with type of molecule to investigate in, if it is possible to understand, to connect this to the possibility to understand how or which of the patient can respond to the therapy or not, you know, the dimension of the cavity and all of these parameters, or to understand if it is possible to find some parameters that can allow the understanding of the response of the patient.
Thank you. A couple of questions for Dr. Morse. Well, actually, one comment. One of them was, we certainly need better communication or dissemination of activity-based therapy benefits, especially as it pertains to aging. Comment from the audience. And then an additional question. I may have misunderstood this info. Did you mention that robotic manipulation of the lower extremities was not effective in providing health benefits for people with spinal cord injury? Question mark.
So the first comment, the reason that I wanted to highlight the guidelines for spinal cord injury specific, the exercise guidelines and spinal cord injuries, I think that in general, a lot more work needs to be done in terms of disseminating that information and really bringing it into the clinical setting as well as the, you know, the adaptive fitness setting and the recreation setting. I think people are not as aware as we could be as a field that these guidelines are out there, and we really haven't, you know, applied them or tested them. And so they're built on a relatively robust evidence base, but a lot more work needs to be done. Regarding robotic gait training, I think you're referring to the slide that I showed regarding clinical recommendations for locomotor training or for any activity-based therapy. I'm sorry, for locomotor recovery after stroke and spinal cord injury. And the recommendation was essentially based on the lack of evidence to support efficacy currently. So I don't think that we have enough information to say anything in particular is not effective. What we do know is some interventions are particularly effective for some outcomes, and some interventions need to be tested more to definitively determine if they're effective or not effective. If that answers that question.
Thanks.
Dr. Carelli, obviously, you know, there's some challenges you're facing in terms of publishing the work and moving forward, but you had stated that one of the successes was this alliance that you formed with the patient association and the clinical scientists. Can you speak on that? Is that something that you will be also publishing in your paper, how that came to be? You're on mute.
I don't know if I understood correctly, but maybe we will discuss this point. We will put to this point the description of the collaboration. And it was really a strong collaboration between preclinical, the patient association, and the clinical scientist. And we want to describe, maybe we will prepare a paper dedicated to this point. We want to just a letter because I think that it is really one of the best example of collaboration, because I discussed this point with Matthew the first time we met. Do you remember, Matthew? We went on that just because I met him and he asked me, how did you do it? And the idea is that each one has done his work respecting the work of the others, respecting the work of the patients, the work of the patient association who decided to do a trial. You know, I was at the first time, I was really surprised because, you know, we have done a lot of preclinical study, so meaning 2 papers, very well done, I think, and only 1 paper in animals. This not means that this is not important, but you know, if you make a comparison with the big groups all over the world, you find a lot of preclinical papers before to enter in the clinical phase. And in this case, this patient association that monitor us during all of our story decided to go directly in the clinic. And as I told you, the first time I was really surprised, but then I said, okay, fine. If they are really convinced, we must help them. And we did. We did everything very, very strongly, respecting all of the rules, but we're done. And we obtained results. Me too, I want to specify that this was a phase 1 study, just to see if the procedure were feasible in patients, because it is autologous preparation of tissue, and we wanted to understand if this can be done during the surgery. And it is possible to do. And we now want to go further, maybe to try to organize an efficacy study. And in this case, we will go in the blind situation, we will go in the organizing a comparison group, a comparative group. So this was really a very nice example of collaboration between all of the type of scientists and the patient association. And to respond to you, maybe it's better to organize a paper only to describe this approach.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Carelli, that's obviously one of the reasons why we wanted to invite you. Dr. Morse, thank you for your time. Dr. Carelli, for your time. Dr. Biden as well. Both of you are certainly welcome to join the open forum discussion later this afternoon, 2:30 to 3:15. And I'm sure many folks would still have more questions for you if you'd be willing to entertain them. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you.